college, and you talked in one of your post interviews where you talked about, you kind of knew that you would be in this position. You knew that this moment would come. What did it feel like to get that call?
Man, yeah, it felt, a lot of emotions for sure. Spending 5 years at Texas Tech, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of adversity through the time there. But steadfast and stayed prepared for this moment. To have your name called on draft night, it's pretty cool. And especially to be back here in Eastland too, it was a cool experience for sure.
And you talk about being back here in Eastland. West Texas is really home for you. From Lubbock to Eastland, back to Lubbock. What has that been like for the both of you to, one, be able to coach them, but then also to be able to come back home?
It's been awesome. I think being able to travel and throwing Midland in the mix too. Each spot had its own unique place in our hearts. Obviously, Eastland is very special. It's my hometown, Behen's hometown, and so that was a cool ride. And then Lubbock, it's kind of a way bigger version of Eastland, but it's still, people kind of consider it to be West Texas, and that made it really nice too.
Yeah, it was great getting to, spending my time in West Texas. There's been a lot of good athletes that came from here. But to do it at his hometown where he won state in 1982, it was awesome. I played 5 sports in high school, which gave me the opportunity to compete in high school, and that's what really molded me to who I am today.
You talk about those 5 sports. I was hearing about your golf career. Talk to me a little bit. What it's also been like to have that balance, to be such a well-rounded athlete?
Yeah, no, I think, as young as you can get, compete in whatever you can. And I feel like, the generation coming up, play as many sports as you can, compete, play different sports. And I think that, it's going to help you in the long run for when you do find your sport, what you're doing, you can stick to that sport and you can really put, 100% into that.
And then, just to be able to come back, walk these halls, see the elementary school, the high school, what was that like for you? What goes through your head when you see all of these old relics?
No, it's awesome. It's been a long time since I've been back in Eastland, and this is really cool to have this day. Tons of people from the community to get a day named after you. It's pretty cool. So, I'm glad I made a stop before headed up to New England.
And then, in terms of heading out there, you talked about just being glad to be healthy. What goes through your mind there as well? Yeah,
my whole entire career at college, pretty much playing banged up. And to get back healthy, this draft process has been, the best thing that's happened to me. This is the healthiest I've been since high school, and so to not have any bumps and bruises going into, rookie minicamp, I'm excited for it.
And then with that, you talked about playing with bumps and bruises. You've still had an extremely successful career, one of the winningest quarterbacks at Texas Tech. Talk to me about playing through that adversity and, what you kind of tell the kids.
Yeah, there's everything's not going to be perfect every single day, and, it's what you make of it. But, sticking to a routine, I feel like once I got to college, it was more of, hey, this is what you do for a living now, and so treat it like it. So, spend a lot of time in the training room. But on top of that, the ball's going to get kicked off on Saturday, and you got to be ready to play. And so just having that mentality of, getting on the field and getting a win for sure.
And Dad, what is that like for you? What goes through your mind when you get to watch them hold the babies, shake the hands, see the old teachers?
Yeah, that's kind of the part that I love the most, actually, is seeing former players that maybe I coached and parents holding one of their babies, and just the outpouring from the community, and just, a lot of people that maybe Behren doesn't know directly, but he's had an impact on them, and we talk about using that as a platform for a bigger picture of what our life's about, and just seeing that's, to me, that's what, it's not the NFL part of it that draws me so much, is being able to make a contact and build relationships with people and help them in their daily lives.
And then just, thinking again about headed out to New England, what goes through your mind? Potentially, you have a cannon of an arm. This is something that's not new, but learning from some of these older guys, what goes through your mind there as well? Yeah,
to get to play for this organization is, something that everyone wants to do. It's the same offensive coordinator that was with, Tom Brady when they won the Super Bowls, and so getting to learn the football side of it has been awesome. This experience has been, such a blessing for me. This is going to be a really fun period of time for my life. But moving forward, looking forward to better my football IQ, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And then, thinking again, some of the kids that you saw, were you able to kind of see yourselves in any of the kids?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I was talking to some of the kids, and the mom was like, you do such a good job of taking time. And I remember being a little kid and seeing those guys and, the time that they took out for talk to me. So as much as I can give back to Eastland and the youth community, I want to make an impact any way I can.
And then what do you kind of say to, your family and your Eastland community that's kind of helped you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done it without them. For Dad moving us back to Eastland, spending my whole entire high school career here, made some friendships that will last forever. But a lot of good memories in Eastland, and Dad retired here, so anytime I want to come back to Eastland, Eastland's always home.
And both in speaking to your parents before, they kind of talked about, your mom mentioned like she couldn't believe you came home. What was that like for you also to just be at home with your parents, kind of going back to maybe some of those younger years?
Yeah, no, she asked me, where do you want to do the draft party? I said I want to do it in Eastland, and or I can go out and hunt and fish and get some more downtime before I pick it back up. But my days in Eastland when I was younger, I would hunt and fish all the time, and so coming back home, anytime I get done with a Zoom call with the Patriots, I'm headed out to the lake to go fish or go play some golf. But it's good to be back home for sure.
And then I've heard that's one of your hobbies and also one of the things you've invested in with some of this NIL. What does that do for you? How does that kind of ground you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it. Dad always says he puts a knot on my head if I do something wrong with it, and so I feel like I've done something, with my money that's beneficial, investing it, but investing it in something that, I love to do, and so it's kind of my safe place. Take some of the guys on our bye weeks, take them out there, but, it's something that I'm worth investing for sure.
And then what are you most looking forward to, just kind of looking ahead?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, the start of the journey. I feel like since the Orange Bowl to now, it's been its whole experience, and now I'm going on to the next chapter. You got your team where you're going, and, it's time to go. So I'm excited for it, but it's going to be a lot of fun.